Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Yalucha Od Yalucha Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Yalucha Od Yalucha. Now that you know the tune, now that you hear the words, Ashrei, we're happy. We're happy being here in this Beit El, this synagogue, on Rosh Hashanah. Don't go away, Cantor Tisser, we're going to do it one more time. We're just learning the words.
I was ready for Kugel.
Odmad. So we know the tune, we know the words. I invite you to close your eyes. Let these words seep in. We feel that sense of osher, that sense of joy, being together as a community, being alive on this Shabbat, on this Rosh Hashanah. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Yalucha Od Yalucha Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Yalucha Od Yalucha Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Yalucha Od Yalucha. You can go get your kugel. I tell you, between John's Hallelujah and your singing Ashrei, I'm basically done. Shana Tova. Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Rabinovitz went to his synagogue board of director to get authorization to buy a new chandelier for the shul. But for some reason, I don't know why, the board was having nothing of it. Rabbi Rabinovitz, he argued and pleaded for over an hour. Deflated and defeated, he eventually sat down, feeling like a failure. Suddenly, the president of the board stood up and said, "What are we wasting our time for? First of all, a chandelier. I mean, why? We don't even have someone who can spell it. Second of all, a chandelier. Why? We don't even have someone who can play it. Besides, what we really need in this shul is more light." It seems to me that the joke is an apt metaphor for the world in which we live. We're not hearing each other, not understanding each other. We're arguing about the wrong things, and it's getting darker when we need more light. Chavarim, I don't have to tell you about our world. I don't have to delineate the darkness, which is cast by challenges ranging from global poverty to gun violence, from refugees to reproductive rights, from floods to fentanyl, from authoritarianism to addiction to anti-Semitism, and on and on. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm just overwhelmed by it all. Beset with fear, paralyzed, sometimes feeling just helpless. I take comfort in a well-known teaching attributed to 19th century Lithuanian Rabbi Israel Salanter. Probably know this teaching. When I was a young man, he said, I wanted to change the world. I found it was difficult to change the world, so I tried to change my nation. When I found I couldn't change my nation, I began to focus on my town, and I couldn't change my town, so I then focused on my family. Now, as an old man, he said, I realized the only thing that I can change is myself. And then I realized long ago that if I had changed myself, I could have made an impact on my family. My family and I could have had an impact on our town. And their impact could have changed the nation, and maybe, just maybe, I could have changed the world. We hear in this teaching ever-expanding concentric circles of responsibility. We know that tikkun olam begins with tikkun hanefesh, that repairing the world begins with repairing the self. That is actually the central idea of what it means to be a Jew. Indeed, the gematria of the word Yisrael equals the sum of neshama and olam, soul and world, to teach us that to be a Jew is to repair the world by repairing the soul. And this idea is central to these high holy days, when we'll read next Yom Kippur, this Yom Kippur, about the Kohen Gadol, who experienced those expanding circles of responsibility, first making atonement for himself and his household, then for his tribe, and then for his people. Tomorrow I'll speak about our shared home, Israel. This morning I'd like to speak about our common home, Bethel, which, as you know, will turn 100 years old this year. I'm not going to review the entire history today. There'll be time to do that and time to celebrate later. For now, and following the lesson of Rabbi Salanter, I'd like to remind us how we serve as a force for good in those ever-expanding circles of responsibility, and how we can shine even more light onto our world. Ashrei means joyous, blessed, content. Ashrei is how I, and I hope you feel, Yoshvei Beitecha, dwelling in this Beit El, this house dedicated to God. We feel embraced by community, steeped in the beauty and meaning of Jewish tradition. We feel lifted in times of joy and supported in times of sorrow. In this topsy-turvy world of ours, we find in Bethel a sanctuary, a refuge. At the same time, it is a place that challenges us to grow and inspires us to act. Besides all that, the Kiddush isn't bad either. The blessings that we feel being part of this community, they shouldn't surprise us. They've been confirmed by study after study. A Mayo Clinic study in 2019 concluded that religious involvement and spirituality are associated with better health, longevity, and less anxiety. A Pew study of a dozen countries, also in 2019, concludes that actively religious people are more likely to describe themselves as happy, are active in civic organizations, and vote. And a study published this past spring out of the University of British Columbia explored the impact of belief in God irrespective of your religious activity or affiliation. In the study, Muslim, Hindu, and Christians and Jewish participants In the United States and the Middle East, they were given a wad of money and 2 envelopes, one labeled mine and the other labeled give to another person. The participants could keep all of the money, divide it up, or give it all away. Participants were first invited to do whatever they thought was best. Later, the experiment was repeated, but this time they were asked to think, what does God want me to do? And as you might guess, they gave 11% more to others. The authors concluded that thinking about God is linked to higher levels of giving, including giving to strangers. And unlike the first 2 studies, this one suggests some form of causation. I want the blessings of Bethel, the blessings of Jewish life for our children and our grandchildren. Actually, we could say it even stronger. We need the blessings of Bethel for our children and grandchildren. We need, and the world needs, us to embrace our Jewish teachings and values and traditions. Take this example. Tov Adonai la'akol v'rachamav kol ma'asav. We sing these words 3 times a day in the Ashrei. God is compassionate to all of God's creatures. The Midrash explains Rachamav kol ma'asav this way. God has implanted rachamim, compassion, in all of creation, including in each one of us, so that God planted it so that we might act with compassion. Just as God feeds the hungry, so must we. Just as God clothes the naked, so must we, and on and on. We have that compassion planted within us. We need but draw it forth. Of course, sometimes it's more complicated than that. Sometimes it's not at all obvious that God is compassionate or that compassion has been planted in all of creation. A daring midrash on tomorrow's Torah reading says as much. Abraham bound Isaac's hands and his feet to the top of the altar. He put the wood in order and he lit the fire. All the while, God was just sitting there, watching a father bind his son as a sacrifice. But just as Abraham took the knife and stretched forth his hand, the angels wept out and called, "V'rachamav kol ma'asav, you, God, are called the merciful God. Have mercy on Isaac." In this midrash, the 2nd century sage, Rabbi Eliezer ben Harkanas, demonstrates what we might call holy chutzpah. Giving voice to the angels, he challenged God to remember God's own nature. God, I thought you were compassionate, he says, so show some compassion. How much does our world need that message today? Imagine every B'nai Mitzvah, every child who knows not only to chant Ashrei, but who understands that it is their duty, their responsibility to act on the rachamim planted within them. Imagine every B'nai Mitzvah acting with holy chutzpah, willing to call out injustice, even one seemingly perpetrated by the creator of the universe. Well, that was the inspiration behind a program we started here at Bethel a few years ago called the Fitterman B'nai Mitzvah Corps. We engaged a group of U.S. wires in conversations about social justice, taught them about tzedakah and philanthropy, and gave them seed money to practice strategic allocations. Among the topics they'll explore this year is affordable housing. Together with other synagogues, Bethel has been asked to join a wonderful project initiated by our neighbors at Westwood Lutheran Church. Rise on Highway 7 is a new affordable housing project across from Knollwood Mall. How appropriate it is in a year when we sing Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha and we rejoice in our house that we act with compassion to support affordable housing in our city. I'm proud that our students will be taking the lead to represent us in this important work. I invite you to contact Rabbi Goldberg or myself for more information. This is but one of the many examples of the ripples that start here and flow outward, the light that shines forth. At a growing time of need, we inspire people to give more and are an avenue for giving time, resources, and energy. At a time when people live in echo chambers, we teach the importance of Shema, of listening and learning from different perspectives. In the face of a selfie world, we teach the importance of the other. In the face of anti-Semitism, we instill Jewish pride and secure our community. At a time when people have access to any and all knowledge at their fingertips, we teach people how to make meaning out of information. In a world that focuses on filling material needs, we teach the importance of the non-material Jewish values, eternal teachings, the soul. On and on. The challenges we face as a human race, writes Rabbi David Jaffe in his book, Changing the World from the Inside Out. The challenges are too big and complex to be solved quickly. We'll need all the resources at our disposal to engage with wisdom, nuance, determination, and fortitude over generations to heal and reverse the dynamics that led to these crises. The good news is that Judaism and other traditions have plenty of resources needed to root change in the deep waters of ancient wisdom. Here at Bethel, we are a wellspring for those ancient waters as we teach and pass on Jewish wisdom and tradition to a new generation. 40 years ago, after our synagogue was first established on the north side, Jews started moving to the western suburbs. Synagogue leaders recognized the need to expand and build what they called the activities building, which was used for a preschool, a youth group, and for daily minyan. That part of the building in the back, it was dedicated almost exactly 60 years ago today, the 4th of Tishrei, September 22nd, 1963. The 1960s decor aside, it was designed thoughtfully, even down to the windows. Now, there are two noteworthy things about the thin windows on the south side, the 26th Street side of the building: their shape and their number. The shape is based on a passage in the Talmud that explains that ordinary windows let light from the outside in. But the windows of the temple in Yerushalayim, they were different. They were built in such a way to allow light from inside to shine out. That was the message behind our windows. Rabbi Abelson of blessed memory explained at the time, the windows of our synagogue are so designed that the light of the synagogue will illuminate the outside world. This serves to remind us that the ideas of the synagogue must radiate outward and have an effect upon the life of its members, upon anyone who identifies with or crosses the threshold of this building. That's the shape. Now the number. It's hard to see from the outside, but the windows were arranged in such a way that they are arranged in groups of 7, symbolizing, Rabbi Abelson taught, that Bethel serves our congregation and our broader community 7 days a week. That remains true today. We are here for you every day of the week and all the days of your lives, from birth to death, simchas to tzuras, from generation to generation. We are here teaching, guiding, comforting, feeding, supporting, exploring, giving, inspiring, more feeding. In dedicating this building, Rabbi Abelson said, "This building represents more than an act of faith. It is also a call to duty to each of our members, for it implies a pledge on the part of all of our members to share in the sacrifice and the labors required by the task." He concludes, "It demonstrates above all that our congregation possesses energy and the resolve and the youthfulness to move forward to greater opportunities and greater achievements." The same is true for us. Come here on Shabbos and you'll see children filling the halls and you'll sense our youthfulness. When you see an array of programs in the program guide that will be handed out on Yom Kippur, classes and services offered by a staff that honestly is working overtime to serve you, you'll sense our energy. And when you hear, as you will from Sally in just a moment, the commitment of the board and the clergy and the staff and a handful of early donors, you'll sense our resolve to secure our future. Today, we are officially launching a centennial campaign called Ashrei. In this once-in-a-lifetime milestone, we're asking you to invest in our common home and in our shared future. We're asking you to help make sure that we can sit in this sanctuary without having rain fall on us through the roof as it did this past year, to make the chapel handicap accessible and accessible to those who need a hearing loop, to enhance spaces whose decor is dated and functionality no longer serves us. But this is, of course, more than just about a building. Building our endowments will ensure that we have clergy leadership, the security personnel, and the program staff to serve our increasingly active congregation. It will allow us to expand our offerings and strengthen our community and pass on and instill morals and values and traditions to a new generation to radiate light from this house outward. Inspired by the vision of our predecessors and grateful for the foundations that they established, it is our turn, our responsibility to secure the future that we might thrive for the next 100 years. Ashrei. We are filled with joy to reach this day. Yoshvei. To dwell together as community in God's house. Beitecha, to call this place home. Oh, hallelujah. To sing, to pray, to praise. Oh, hallelujah. To ensure the song will continue. And so at the dawn of a new year, 5784, on this Rosh Hashanah, we pray, may you, God, who stands above time, illuminate our home and our hearts with the light of your countenance, that we might shine a light unto the world. Amen. This time I'd like to invite our president, Sally Forbes-Friedman, to share with us some additional thoughts.
Thank you, Rabbi Davis. Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova. We just heard Rabbi Davis speak about Ashrei and how happy we are in our home, our Bethel. How happy I felt the first time the building was reopened after COVID. How happy we feel on Shabbat when our community gathers together, or when we gather together for special events. And I am filled with gratitude that we are able to gather together to support one another during times of sorrow or illness. Bethel is our home away from our homes. And like our homes, we have certain expectations. We expect our homes to be safe and secure. We expect the mechanicals, including heat and cooling, to operate efficiently. And we expect a roof over our heads that won't leak. Well, friends, our Bethel needs our attention. Why now? The truth is, we have waited long enough, and now is the time to address the needs of our home away from our homes. Some of you may ask, but we just had a campaign. Well, that was back in 2007, and we didn't address the maintenance issues and other matters of deferred maintenance. So for some of these items, we are on borrowed time. After 3 years of a balanced budget, a thorough evaluation of our financial condition, including our current and financial needs, and with the approval of our board of directors, today I am pleased and excited to publicly launch the Ashrei campaign to secure our next 100 years. Our goal of $10 million has two main areas of focus. First, to address the areas of deferred maintenance and refurbishing specific areas in our building. And second, to add a rabbinic endowment to be added to and managed by our Bethel Foundation. As I have said, for too long, unlike in our own homes, we have said tomorrow. Tomorrow we will fix, fill in the blank, but tomorrow is today. We have thoughtfully and strategically engaged in a reserve study, which identified in a mere 120-page report our most pressing needs, as well as a timeline for future work. Our chapel needs repairs to make sure that all congregants who are physically able can safely ascend the bima, and so those who use hearing devices can fully participate. The kitchen, which makes meals that nourish us in times of sorrow and joy, needs updating. Our youth, our future, need a place they can call their own. Our social hall needs a refresh. We are dedicating the other half of the campaign to establishing a rabbinic endowment. In a congregational survey last May, we heard from you the importance of maintaining high-quality rabbinic leadership. Indeed, we have all of that and more, particularly with Rabbi Davis, who will soon be marking 25 years at Bethel, and with our current exceptional clergy team of Cantor Tisser, Rabbi Goldberg, and Cantor Fried. Once funded, the Rabbinic Endowment, together with the existing Cantorial Endowment, will relieve funds from the annual budget that can be used for programming and engaging and retaining high-quality staff and maintaining our building with timely maintenance in order to prevent having to defer necessary maintenance and thereby scheduling the routine and necessary repairs. I am not going to discuss specific dollar amounts any further because it is Shabbat, the first day of Rosh Hashanah. And as my family will attest, I am extremely superstitious. So my words and requests are made with the utmost respect for our traditions. But here is the best news. We have already raised 60% of the planned campaign achievement. Among them, the board of directors, the board of the Bethel Foundation, our past presidents of Bethel, clergy, and synagogue leadership have all made their individual commitments to the campaign. And thank you to those of you who have already made your generous pledges to the Ashrei campaign. We are grateful for your generosity. Over and over during the quiet phase of the Ashrei campaign, congregants shared with us that this gift to the Ashrei campaign is their largest gift ever. And we are so proud, and they are so proud, and we are so appreciative that they are supporting Bethel. This is only appropriate as this is a once-in-a-lifetime moment in our congregation's history. My personal request, and echoed by our leadership, is that you all participate and be a part of the campaign. Gifts can be paid over 5 years. Every dollar matters. Let me repeat that. Every dollar matters and will be counted and appreciated. I would like to thank our wonderful honorary chairs of the campaign, Steve and Nancy Shackman and Melanie Berry, along with our campaign core committee, Mike and Sue Blehart, John and Lisa Simon, Ben and Robin Shine, Rory and Josh Zemansky, the dedicated work of Rabbi Davis and Matt Walzer, and our consultant, CCS. Their guidance, combined with our vision, have led us to this point, the launch of the Ashrei campaign. You can find information about the campaign in the handouts you received today and on the Bethel website. If you have any questions or requests for additional information, please reach out to Matt Walzer, our managing director. And there will be 2 informational sessions following Kiddush lunch on October 7th and October 14th. Bethel can be a warm and welcoming for the next generation and for generations to come for the next 100 years and more. But we need your support and commitment. We aim to achieve the campaign goal by the end of this calendar year, December 31, 2023, so that we can begin the planning and work you expect as a result of your generous support. Your gift to the Ashrei campaign is in addition to your annual support, and we thank you for your continuing financial commitment to Bethel. And then, as we approach January of 2024, we will turn our attention to a year of learning, celebrating, and reflecting on our past and our future as we celebrate Bethel's centennial, our first 100 years. And on behalf of the board of directors and my family, we wish you and yours a happy, healthy, and meaningful new year. Thank you.